This day's a day, a bad luck's always coming my way.
For today's grim adventure, we find ourselves in Chinatown here in Los Angeles. Today we're seeking out the filming locations to
This is our story. And I'm telling it, so I'll start where I fucking want.
Now, at the time of filming this, in a couple days, the new Batman movie is coming out. And don't get me wrong, we love Christopher Nolan's Batman with Christian Bale. It's really cool, it's very dark, but we're really excited for this new one starring, what's his name, Robert Pattinson, the guy from Harry Potter?
Who are you? What do you want? Kill the stag!
Avada Kedavra!
No!
Now, of course, there's no shortage of superhero movies out there, and they keep telling the story of Batman over and over again, but this one here looks a little extra spooky, extra dark. And Jessica and I are big fans of Batman, even more so the villains in the Batman universe.
If you want to tell a story right, you gotta start at the beginning. So I threw myself into my work, became a psychiatrist. That's when I met him, Mr. J, my Joker. Oh, I fell hard. I lost all sense of who I was. I only had eyes for pudding. We all know the saying, behind every successful man, there's a badass broad. Well, that was me.
Now, we all know how much Jessica loves her green hair, and it's kind of fitting for this episode. Now, you see this building right here? It's on the corner of Ord and New High Street. I'm starting to see some similarities with how Hollywood chooses to work. Doesn't it kind of look like Flynn's Arcade over in Culver City from the original movie Tron? At the beginning of the movie, Harley Quinn gives us a little bit of an origin story about her breakup with Mr. J. She gets kicked out of the house and she gets her own place, which is the second floor of this building right here. Now, in real life, it's the Phoenix Inn, but during the movie, it's Doc's Palace. Now, if I zoom in just a little bit here, I'll try to get the shot that we need. Right about there. This is about the shot that we get. The street, the lampposts, all look the same. The only thing they really did, aside from the signage change, was they did a matte painting of Gotham City looming in the background. Now, her apartment is that one right there with that window.
I got an amazing new place that was all mine.
These opening scenes are really fun because it basically goes into a montage of her starting that new life. You see her tattooing, putting cups on her leg. She has a badger in a tutu. You're introduced to the pet hyena, which is kind of one of my favorite parts. But then she's sitting on the couch, filling her mouth with cream cheese and a onesie that I wish they would have come out with when they did her merchandise. And then it goes into the rest of the story. And I think it's great that they set her up like that. You know, a little bit of heartbreak.
Just a quick note, we're not going to be visiting all of the filming locations to this movie, just some of the most memorable. Some of the locations are actually in some pretty sketchy areas in Skid Row. Hey, Baby Ghoul, now what was it I asked you yesterday about this movie?
The memorable scenes.
Right? What stands out to you when you think about watching this?
The ending, which was obviously a set, so we can't get to that, but when she destroys the factory where they fell in love in the acid pit.
Which is one of the places we'll be going.
Chemical factory, yeah.
And since it's about lunchtime, we decided to get some food. Jessica, you've been wanting to come to Chinatown as much as possible. What did you get here?
Barbecued pork buns and animal cookies, and this time it's in the shape of fishies.
Oh my God, that's cool.
I know, right? It's
I am
so
a cookieaholic.
adorable. I know, I actually got these for you. The pork buns are for me. I'll share though.
You better share. Go ahead,
I'll
try
share.
one.
Look how big that is.
That thing is massive. Is it good?
It's not an egg and cheese sandwich like Harley goes crazy on in the film, but it'll do.
Now what you're looking at right now is a restaurant called B Hibachi Japanese Grill right here off of Hill Street in downtown Los Angeles. This is where Harley Quinn and her friends go for drinks. In fact, her friends would have been sitting right about there to the right of that cone.
Even when I did try and tell people, they didn't believe me.
Come on, she told me they're really broken up this time.
Sure they are, Shell. That's why she's still wearing that tacky J necklace.
Now they're talking about how they don't believe that Harley is over Mr. J. And she walks right out this front door, stops dead in her tracks listening to them, drops the tray, and then she heads on down the street. In all actuality, the street that she walks down is on the other side of town.
People just aren't born to stand on their own. Oh, girl, let's drink. Come on.
I knew I needed to find some way to show the world that I'd cut ties with Mr. J for good.
Harley!
After overhearing her friends talking about how they don't believe that Harley is over Mr. J, she storms off into the night, and you can see her walking in front of this building. It's in the background. And she has this deep in thought kind of moment where she talks about how some people have the Eiffel Tower and others have the Olive Garden, while her and Mr. J have a highly toxic processing plant.
Some people have the Eiffel Tower or Olive Garden. The Joker and I, our love bloomed in a highly toxic industrial processing plant.
Now, that processing plant in the movie, it was digitally added in, but it was right around this corner up here. Now, in these scenes, the street that Harley Quinn was walking down is Boyd Street, and she comes right over here to this intersection, which is Anderson Street, and she looks down this way. Now, what's really interesting about this, in the movie, it is the Ace Chemical Plant. In real life, if I keep going down here, it's the Ace Movie Studios. Coincidence? Who knows? The very next scene, we get a bit of a close-up of Harley Quinn looking down at the chemical plant, remembering the way things were, and then she turns and she sees a tanker, a truck that ultimately she takes. In this scene, if you look very closely at the building behind the truck, you can see these grated windows and the grated door. And then over by that telephone pole is where the trucker would have been, well, relieving himself, which is why there were keys in the cab. And then we get that line where Harley says, "I get my best ideas when I'm drunk."
Luckily for me, I have all my best ideas drunk.
I have the best idea.
Like a lit cigarette, took mine and I liked it too. My knees are bruised from kneeling to.
And then she drives the truck down this road a couple blocks, crashes through the gate, and then crashes it into the chemical plant, destroying the place where, well, it's the ultimate symbol of her and Mr. J's love. It all happened right here. Crazy, right? Now remember, the chemical plant was digitally added to the movie, but the gate that she crashes through, they actually built it. The intersection where they built the gate that Harley crashes through is at the corner of Artemis and Anderson, pretty much about a block away from where she stole the truck. She crashes right through it and straight into the chemical plant. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely love these little industrialized areas here in Los Angeles. And the old factory buildings, this is cool. In a way, it kind of makes you wish that they would do something with them, like renovate them. But then you would lose this old industrialized charm, right? Baby girl, you look extra creepy standing there against that building, the Los Angeles Mission. There's a scene in Birds of Prey where Harley Quinn and Cassandra Cain are walking through a grocery store. That grocery store is Fields Market Fine Foods, which is basically really out in the middle of nowhere. Now, in this scene, Harley Quinn and Cassandra Cain come here to buy some laxatives because, well, Cassandra Cain, she swallows the diamond, and according to Harley Quinn, one way or the other, it's gonna come out. You see on the back wall how it says beverages? In this scene, you can see them walking right down this aisleway. On the left-hand side is the cooking oil, and on the right-hand side is the tin foil and plastic bags. And as they get to right about here, Harley Quinn says, there's one of two ways that the diamond is coming out of you. The first one is either laxatives, or the second one, a knife. Now the knife that they used,
They have a big one.
right? Yeah, the big one is no longer here, but they have a small one. But that's so cool that this is it. And not much has changed. It looks identical with a few, exceptions of product. You're gonna spatula the diamond out of me?
What are we even doing here?
There are two ways that diamond's coming out of you. This way, or this way. That's what I thought.
Look at that baby goal. How fitting is this? Pudding.
Gross.
Ugh,
Don't like it.
don't like it.
You're so busy looking at my right hand, you haven't even thought about my
Your
left.
left hand is cuffed to mine.
Can we get this?
Now, further proof that this is the right aisle, as they walk away, you can actually see the signs, A3B. Coffee, tea, cake mixes, spices, and bags and wraps. This is it.
I saw that.
Seriously though.
This time in aisle 4, as Cassandra Cain is asking her, how can she be like Harley?
Being a pickpocket's fine and all, but I got real potential. I mean, how do I be like you?
You see how it says Fields Market up there on the wall in the front of the store? Well, you can see that behind Harley as she says no one can be like her.
No one is like me. If you wanted to even come close, you would have to go to medical school, become a psychiatrist, work in an asylum, fall in love with your patient, break said patient out of said asylum, begin a life of crime, jump into a vat of chemicals to prove yourself to a madman, get arrested by the Batman, go back to jail, get out of jail with a bomb in your neck, save the world, go back to jail and break out of jail before breaking up with the aforementioned madman and going out on your own.
They pretty much did all the filming here in aisle 3 and aisle 4. Now you can clearly see that it is aisle 4 whenever they decide to run and pretty much steal everything that they put in the cart. And with that being said, thank you for joining us on another grim adventure, this time telling the tale, well, one of the tales from the DC universe of Batman, this time Birds of Prey, the emancipation of Harley Quinn. Jessica and I are both really excited about the new Batman movie, mainly, like I said earlier, the villains. The villains in this one look pretty darn amazing. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this movie, The Batman, is going to be the darkest one yet. With that being said, happy Halloween.
Wherever I come, bad luck is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.